Hey folks, got a little bit different video for you today, and the reason behind this video is because I've had several people ask me how I develop my routes. They assume that I use Gaia or Rever or Onyx Off-Road, something like that, but the answer to all those three is no, I do not. I use almost exclusively Garmin Basecamp. Now, a lot of people don't like Garmin Basecamp because they find it difficult to use, kind of archaic looking, maybe a little clunky, but I disagree with that. I find Garmin Basecamp to be a very powerful tool. It works very quick and effective for me, and I just like it. I like it. The way I'm going to develop my routes in this video is not necessarily the right way to do it. It's just how I do it, and this is going to be almost exclusively uh, for dirt riding. So this is not an on-road thing, but we can discuss that a little bit. This is dirt travel, long haul dirt travel. So I'm going to go into the basic settings that I use and the different functions, the routing tool, the tracking tool, measuring tool, various things. So let's get started with that, shall we? Alrighty then. Okay, to begin with, I'm going to assume that you know how to download and install Basecamp. And if you have to go through that, there's plenty of information on YouTube on how to go about that. But uh, once you do have it downloaded and installed, you need to make sure you have all the correct tools, all the right tools that you want, because they might be missing. Like some very important ones are your activity profile here, your pan tool, uh, your waypoint tool, routing tool, and your tracking tool. Those are the three most important ones. And if you don't see any of these, they may be in different order, but look for them. If you don't see them, you need to go to view and map controls. No, not map controls, toolbars. And you need to make sure that, like for instance, activity profile is selected, detail level. Your detail level is right here. This goes from lowest to highest. Your detail level, edit features, edit playback can be kind of handy. So just go through these map tools, these toolbars, and make sure you have at least the activity profile, the pan tool, undo tool, waypoint tool, routing tool, excuse me, and tracking tool. All right. Okay, to begin routing, you need to set up your preferences and avoidances. And this is going to be here in your activity profile. This little tab could be here, it could be over here, anywhere in here, don't know. But anyways, navigate to your activity profile here, and it's going to have a drop-down menu. This is where you're going to choose what kind of activity you're going to be doing, like driving, motorcycling, hiking, biking, ATV, dirt biking. And these are very important because this is going to determine, Basecamp's going to determine how your routes are formed based on what you choose here. Now I have motorcycling chosen, but say you were to choose like hiking and you tried to route, say on a major highway, it's not going to let you. Or even walking. I think walking's in here. It's the same thing. Walking, yeah, there's walking. It's going to route you on safe walking areas like dirt roads, that kind of thing. So uh, if you're dirt biking, long haul dirt biking, just choose motorcycling. That'll work fine. And you also want to navigate down to edit activity profiles. Now, this is going to be important too. This is where we set our preferences and avoidances. And in this little box that pops up, you're going to have general, which will have your map display features. It's kind of ignore that. Basically, I do. But you want to go to routing. And this is where we're going to set our preferences and our avoidances. Generally, I just choose curvy roads. If you're on if you're just doing highway riding, might want to choose faster time or shorter distance. This is going to greatly determine, again, how it's routed. My avoidances that I have here are interstates. So when I'm actually routing, it's instead of routing me on an interstate, it'll let me go wherever I want. Major highways, other avoidances are ferries, U-turns, cable cars, whatever. Carpool lanes, blah, 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 blah. Just choose what you want depending on what you're doing. and just select OK. Okay, a couple additional things you need to set up. Initially, I like to have my details set to lowest. So if I want to navigate to a certain area, I can easily. If you set it to highest, here it's going to get super busy, and you can see how busy it gets. We don't want that right now initially, so let's set it to lowest. Also, let's zoom into, like, say, the Black Hills. Now I know in this area there's a lot of roads, and again, if I set it to highest, once I zoom in, all of those roads are going to appear. Basically, you can see all the trails in here. And if you don't see these, it could be because if you have your view set to basic map only, now watch this area, if I set it to basic map only, that's going to disappear. You don't want your basic map only selected if you want to see everything. Okay, let's move on to a few other things. Initially, when you start out in Basecamp, you aren't going to have all this busyness that I have. In here, these are what are called lists. That's what Garmin Basecamp calls them. If you don't have them, you can go to my collections and just left click on it, right click on it, and we're going to create a new list. And I'm just, for just simplicity's sake, I'm going to call this BC tutorial. And this will basically create a blank slate for us. Now, if I go to BC tutorial, you see there's no list there. I'm going to change this back to lowest. And if you see, I can go to my SD final. It gets pretty busy. So you can toggle between your lists. You can have all kinds of stuff in here. But we're just gonna start with Basecamp tutorial, a blank slate. Right now, I kind of want to get into routing, and I've chosen an area that I know that Basecamp has issues. It's this far northwest corner here in South Dakota. It's the North Cave Hills of South Dakota. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. And this is where I incorporate some other platform. I use Gaia and also Google Earth Pro. Now, the reason why I've selected this area is because I know that this is where Basecamp has issues. It's failed. And you may ask yourself, Frostbite, why don't you just use Gaia? Well, I could, but at home, when I'm at home in the winter, when I plan all these routes, I like using all three. I like using Basecamp, which is free. Gaia, I do have a paid subscription, and Google Earth Pro. So, and I also find Gaia on the road, it's kind of difficult to use. There's a kind of a steep learning curve, and I'm still in the steep learning curve process. So I could use it in emergencies to route through, but anyways, I want to demonstrate here how where Basecamp has failed. This is a pretty rare occurrence, but it does happen, I found out. As you can see, this area here, there's nothing here. And I did not find out until kind of later when a buddy of mine went through here, Dan Stanton, that there is something here. And if I can show you the route that I initially had in my SD development, here it is here. And this trail, if you can zoom in, there's nothing there. And this little section, there's nothing there. Let's go back to Basecamp tutorial. But I want to show you in, let's go to Gaia first. This little finger thingy here, that's what we're looking at, that right there. That's what we're looking at right there. You can see if we go back to Gaia, there's also this little road here, which is not visible on Basecamp. Also, Google Earth Pro, if we look at that, let me get rid of that path. I can see that, yes, there definitely is something there. It's just a little cow trail or whatever, but there's something there that is rideable. And there's also this little connection here and then going down into here. And the reason why I bring that up is because if we go to my SD final, initially I went all the way up and around when I could have just gone straight through here. So maybe this is scenic, I don't know, but what I'm going to do here with this area is I'm going to create 2 routes and 1 track, and we are going to conjoin them. I'm also going to maybe incorporate this this route a little bit here, but we'll see how that goes. But anyways, let's get moving on with creating our first route and creating our first track and a second route, and then um, ultimately conjoining all the two so it's just one smooth little thingy dingy. Okay, so now you're probably yelling at me like, Frostbite, you just wasted 10 minutes and 22 seconds of my life on what? Well, I thought it was pretty important to be pretty detailed on how to set things up, your activity profiles, your uh, yeah, and your tools and all that kind of stuff. But let's begin routing now at 10 minutes and 50 seconds, whatever. So first, you're going to want to choose your routing tool. This little funky 3 squares made into a triangle, and I prefer to choose routing initially. If you have your preferences and avoidance set up, it'll work pretty slick. So just make sure you just click on various spots pretty close together and just keep moving along. And we're going to move up to this little finger thingy dingy right here. And just make sure your path is what you want it to be to begin with. Okay, so we know we can't go through here, so I have to kind of be a little tricky here. Go to my pan tool. I'm going to create a track, these two little feet thingies here, new track. And I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go from this spot here to this spot here. Okay, so we have a track there. And I'll continue on with a route from this spot here to this. We're just going to make this short and simple and sweet. Okay, go back to my pan tool so I don't accidentally click on anything. Okay, so now we have 2 routes and 1 track, and we want to simplify things. What I like to do, like I said, initially I like to start out with a route, but we can convert this to a track. So if you simply highlight it over here, you select that leg, click on it. If you go in your list over here, right click on it and go drop down, you can create track from selected route. So we'll do that. And now we have this little leg here. I want to do the same. I want to create a track from that selected route. Okay, so that's now we have 2 routes and 3 tracks. It's going to get a little busy and we don't want that. So let's select this route here first. And what I want to show you here is I want this gone from my list so it's not so busy. So if we just simply right click on it, we can remove it from BC tutorial. I prefer to remove it because like for instance here I have several files here. I've got st2 good, SD development final. It's just my madness. I have identical routes and tracks in here. And if I was to delete, like say out of this file, it could delete it from everything else. So I just want to remove it from here. Okay, so now we've got this one here. I want to remove that one as well. So we'll remove that. Okay, that's removed. Now I want to get into the process of conjoining all these 3 into one track, and that gets a little tricky. You have to get kind of creative. It's not difficult by any means, but you do need to get creative. And what you want to do is you want to set these in a numerical order. Now I have a ton of tracks in here, and if I choose, like say I choose track 046 and it's in one of these other lists, it will not let me do that. So I have to get creative with my numbering scheme. So this is my first leg, and what we want to do is we want to set these in numerical order as 1, 2, 3. But like I said, I have to be a little creative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call that track 1000. Enter. Oh, that already exists. Dang it. Let's see. So I mean, let's go 2000. Enter. Okay. Now we want, like I said, numerical order. We'll select this next one. That's track 054. Let's rename that to track 2001. Okay. And we have this last leg here. Right click, rename track 2002. Okay, so now you can see they're all in numerical order. 2000, 2001, 2002.
Oh,
Now I can have the ability to make this into one smooth track. Now, if I was to have, like, say, this was 2000, this was 2001, this was 2002, the when I join them, it would get really screwy. So that's why you want them in numerical order. So I'm going to click on that list. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to arrow down so that they're all highlighted. I'm going to right click and I'm going to join selected tracks. This box will pop up. It's basically saying, do you want them in this order? Yes, I do. And a new join track has been created. Would you like to delete the original track? I'm going to say yes. Let's do that. So now we have one track that's complete. Okay, that works. Oh, go away. Notifications. Now we have one track that's complete. And I do want to demonstrate real quick too with the routing tool. If I wanted to say route from here to here, you can see what it does. It gets funky. You don't want that. Did I demonstrate that already? I don't know. Anyways, that's going to go bye-bye. Remove. Now we also, oops, dang it, undo. Pan tool. Now, if we want to, we can also create a route from this. We can go the reverse from a track. So we highlight that, right click, create route from selected track. And voila, it will do it in time. Do, 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 boom, boom. There it goes. So now we have a route. Now, the problem with routes, I don't remember if I discussed this. Routes are going to give you turn by turn instructions. Tracks will not. Tracks are going to just only, you have to follow a line. So in difficult areas like this, that's why I use tracks, because it can get a little funky if you use a route, and you have to get pretty creative with your GPS. If you're going through and you're off trail, I think some of you may have seen this. It recalculates for you, which gets kind of disturbing. But in this area, there wouldn't be much recalculation to deal with. But that's why I use tracks, because it's going to stay there, and I have to follow a line. Now, obviously, you have to pay attention to your GPS when that's doing that, and you have to flick your eyes up and down and follow it. So that's that. Let's move on to some of the last things we need to do. Okay, the last thing that I want to discuss with this is how I organize these routes as far as numerical or alphabetical order, and also changing color. But first, what I want to do is I kind of want to demonstrate how the routing preferences work. I want to create an additional route just real quick and nasty and simple. I'm going to go from here to here to here to here over to here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the North Cave Hills to Lemon. I don't know if that's North Dakota, I think. As you can see here, my routing preferences, if you don't have your routing preferences set up, it would have just followed along Highway 12 here, but I don't have that. So it did what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to just quick and nasty, just create a track from the selected route. I'm going to take this route. I'm going to remove it. And I have an additional track route there. I want that gone. Move that. Okay, so now I have just tracks, right? I've got 2 waypoints, which I can get rid of these 2. Let's just send them bye-bye. Let's delete those out. Delete. Okay, so what I want to do real quick here, real quick and nasty, I want to change the color of these. Like I said in my But originally I want to have these in different sections. Two ways to do this. You can either double click on your original one and you can change the color there, or you can double click over here and do the same thing. I'm going to change this to red and just close that out, changes it to red. This next one, I'm going to double click on that and I'm going to change that to green. Okay, so now we've got red, green. So now they're very distinct, which I just kind of like. That's just me. And also what I want to do too is when you export these to your GPS, I like to have them in, like a certain order. Like I want this one first, I want this one second, for instance. And what I've found to change the name, I'm just going to highlight that. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to rename it. And what I found is if you rename this initially with double letters like AA, one, let's just say, for instance, make this simple, and enter. And then the second one here, if I just simply rename that to BB2, let's just call it 2, whatever, enter. Now what this will do when you export it into your GPS, it will lock it into this alphabetical order. We can go to my SD final. I can demonstrate this. I have AA, BB, CC, DD, EE, FF, and on all the way up to QQ. So that will, when you export to your GPS, it will be locked into that order. And so you can just kind of day by day, you can follow through your routes. So that is the down and dirty way that I route. I know it took like, I don't know, 22 minutes, whatever, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was informative, and what's the other word for it? Hope it helped you out. But let's end this. I'm gonna end this with my buddy Dan going through this area. It's a pretty cool ride. I'm going to leave a link to his channel in my description. He does some great rides. He actually finished this route out for me because, as some of you may know, my clutch failed. So I had to end it in basically Sturgis area. I was not able to complete all of this that I wanted to. That's next season, but let's finish up with Mr. Dan Stanton in the North Cave Hills, in this area, the same area that I had trouble with. Okay, all righty. Frostbite out. Have a great day. It is Christmas right now, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all in 2023, and I hope you have a great 2024. Frostbite out.
Looks like a ranch over there. This is real steep, guys. So we're gonna creep down here. We're gonna do the creep. Yeah, we'll play a little.